Tuesday morning. The view set glows under hot studio lights. The crowd buzzes with excitement, because today, a legend's in the building. Reba McEntire, the queen of country herself, walks out to thunderous applause. Her red hair catches the light, her smile warm, familiar. She sits down at the table, the picture of Southern grace. "Reba, it's so good to have you here," one host says. "You've done it all. Music, acting, mentoring on The Voice. How do you stay so grounded?" Reba laughs softly. "Well, honey, I just try to remember where I came from. Oklahoma dirt keeps you humble." Laughter ripples around the table, but one host doesn't join in. She leans forward, voice cutting through the cheer. "Reba, you've always stood up for traditional values. In a changing America, do you ever feel out of touch?" The air tightens. The laughter dies. For a moment, even the cameras seem to hold their breath. Reba's smile fades, but her voice stays calm. "Well, depends on what you call out of touch. I call it knowing who you are." Silence. The audience senses something real, something about to break through the surface. The host tries to steer the conversation back to music, but Reba doesn't follow. Her fingers tap the mug in front of her. She leans back, slow and thoughtful. "You know," she says quietly, "I wasn't planning to say this today." The audience shifts in their seats. Something big is coming. The studio feels different now, tighter, heavier. The audience senses it, the way animals sense a storm before it hits. Reba's last words hang in the air like smoke. The hosts exchange uneasy glances, waiting for someone else to break the silence. Finally, the most outspoken co-host leans in, her tone careful but pointed. "Reba," she says, "a lot of people in Hollywood feel that country culture, your world, doesn't always welcome everyone. Don't you think it's time for country music to move past all that old American values talk?" A few audience members murmur. Someone coughs. The tension is real now. Reba's eyes narrow just a little. Not in anger, but in recognition. She's been here before. She tilts her head, voice even. "You know, folks say a lot about what they think country stands for. But most of them have never sat in a diner off Highway 9 or talked to a farmer who just lost his crop. They talk about unity, but they don't listen to the people holding this country together." The audience breaks into applause, some standing. The co-host shifts, forced smile fading. Reba doesn't stop. "You want to talk about real America?" She leans forward, voice low, steady, sharp as a blade. "Let's do that." The crowd gasps, half in excitement, half in disbelief. The producer gestures frantically off camera. But Reba isn't finished, not even close. The audience is silent, the kind of silence that only happens when truth walks into the room. Reba's eyes lock on the co-host, her voice calm but carrying weight. "You want to talk about real America? Let me tell you what that means." She leans forward, hands clasped on the table. Real America isn't red or blue. It's families working 2 jobs to keep the lights on. It's folks who still believe a handshake means something. It's neighbors helping neighbors when the storms come, not because it's political, but because it's right. The audience bursts into applause. Even the crew can't hide their shock. Cameras zoom in. The hosts look rattled, unsure how to respond. One tries to interject, voice trembling slightly. "Reba, we all care about those things, but..." Reba cuts in gently but firmly. "No, see, that's the problem. You say that, but when people from my world speak up, suddenly we're labeled outdated or ignorant. You can't preach tolerance and then shame the folks who built the roads you drive on." The crowd roars. The tension in the room has turned electric. Live television at its most raw. One host reaches across the table, attempting to interrupt, but Reba shakes her head slowly. "Don't worry," she says, voice unwavering. "I'm not done yet." And with that, the camera zooms closer. The battle lines have been drawn. Chaos brews beneath the surface. The producers scramble behind the glass wall, their voices sharp in the earpieces of the hosts. "Cut to break!" one shouts. But the control room hesitates. This moment is too explosive to interrupt. On set, Reba sits upright, calm but burning. One co-host tries to regain control, laughing nervously. "Well, Reba, we didn't mean to..." Reba stops her with a glance that could cut through steel. "No, you did mean to. And that's okay. You wanted a real conversation, and now you've got one." The crowd cheers. Another host raises her voice. "Reba, you're turning this political..." Sweetheart, Reba says, leaning forward. It was political the moment you questioned my values on live TV. The studio gasps. The tension is now visible, like static in the air. One camera catches a producer pacing furiously, another host's forced smile twitching. Reba continues, her voice steady, every word deliberate. I'm not angry. I'm just tired of people acting like loving your country makes you the villain. You don't have to agree with me, but don't talk down to the people who still believe in decency. The audience rises, clapping, shouting. The co-hosts look lost in the noise. A voice suddenly crackles through the speakers. We're going to commercial now. But Reba doesn't move. She looks straight into the camera. I think America deserves to hear this part, she says, and she keeps talking. When the show finally cuts to black, the studio feels like it's been hit by lightning. The audience buzzes, phones flash, and within minutes, clips of Reba's fiery exchange are all over the internet. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, the moment is everywhere. By sunset, the Reba on The View is trending #1. Half the country calls her a hero for standing up for real America. The other half accuses her of grandstanding on national TV. News anchors dissect every sentence she said, while late-night comedians replay the clip with sarcastic laughter. But through the noise, one thing is clear. Everyone's talking about Reba McEntire again. Back at her home in Nashville, Reba scrolls through the headlines quietly. She doesn't look angry, just resolute. Her phone lights up with messages from fans, artists, even a few political figures. She types slowly, deliberately, before posting her own message. Respect doesn't have a party. I said what I said and I meant it. Truth doesn't need permission. The post explodes instantly. Millions of shares, thousands of debates. Newsrooms scramble for her next move. The View issues a statement, but it only fuels more speculation. Late that night, a clip leaks. Reba walking out of a Nashville studio, reporters shouting questions. She stops, smiles faintly, and says, "Y'all haven't heard the whole story yet, but you will." The screen fades to black. If you just felt that, the tension, the truth, the courage, then you already know why this story matters. What we witnessed wasn't just a celebrity moment. It was a cultural earthquake. Reba McEntire didn't just speak for herself. She spoke for millions of Americans who are tired of being misunderstood, silenced, or labeled for believing in decency and heart. Now, here's where you come in. We want to hear from you. Do you stand with Reba's message of authenticity and respect, or do you think The View was right to challenge her? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. Let's make this a real conversation, not just another viral clip. And if you believe in stories that reveal the truth behind the headlines, if you want more deep dives into the raw, emotional, uncut moments shaping our culture, hit that like button right now. Smash subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2 of our special coverage, Reba's Reckoning, the aftershock on Capitol Hill. This is more than entertainment. This is about values, voices, and who gets to define the American story. Stay with us, because the next chapter is going to shake things even harder.